Yeah, what's going on? On this episode of The Men's Kitchen, this is episode number 2. We're going to show you how to make official, authentic New York City street hot dogs, which are the best hot dogs in the country. Now, it's very cheap and fast to make these hot dogs. Takes about 10 minutes altogether, everything. There's no prep work involved or nothing like that. But these are authentic New York City street hot dogs. When you have these, you're not going to want to eat any other types of hot dogs. Trust me on that. So the hot dogs that you're going to get from the supermarket are Sabrett's. No other hot dogs. Sabrett. It's the best hot dogs, and this is what you need to make New York City street hot dogs. We call them Franks too, short for Frankfurters. A second option for you would be Nathan's hot dogs. Now, Nathan's hot dogs are very popular. However, in New York City, they're not the best loved street hot dogs, trust me. It's just that hot dogs, they were invented in Brooklyn in like the late 1800s, and then you had a guy in the early 1900s who created Nathan's in Coney Island, Brooklyn, and he pretty much outdid all of his competition. But don't let that fool you. Nathan's is good, but Sabrett is what you want to go with for authentic New York City street hot dogs. So besides the hot dogs, the only other stuff you're going to need is sauerkraut, which you see at the top left, Sabrett sauerkraut, Sabrett red onions, which you see next to the sauerkraut on the right, and hot dog buns. Any hot dog buns that do. Now with the sauerkraut and the red onions, they last for a long time in your refrigerator. So they last for a long time. But that you're going to need that along with the hot dog buns. And also you're going to need ketchup and mustard. Any ketchup would do. With the mustard, you could use yellow mustard if you want. But in New York City, traditionally, the best mustard is spicy brown mustard. In this picture here, you see Gulden's spicy brown mustard. It's way better than yellow mustard, but for purposes of making New York City street hot dogs, you can use yellow mustard if you want. Now to make the hot dogs, it's pretty simple. You put up a big pot of water, right? You fill the water up towards the top. Cut the flame on to a high level, and you bring the water to a boil. That's what you want to do to start off. Once the water's boiling, you're going to throw the hot dogs in there, right? And keep the flame on high. Throw the hot dogs in there. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes for them to be ready. Do not step away from the stove for too long. Otherwise, the hot dogs are going to start splitting down the middle, and it's going to ruin it. I mean, you can still eat it, but it's going to ruin it. So 6 or 7 minutes is sufficient. So once the hot dogs are nearly done, you're going to put the red onions into a little pot, and also the sauerkraut into another little pot. You're going to put those on a low flame for about, I'd say, 2 minutes. When you see the red onions and the sauerkraut start to, sizzle a little bit, so to speak, it's good. Only takes a couple of minutes. So now the hot dogs are ready. Now, when the hot dogs are ready, you're going to see like a little bit of fatty film in the water. That just comes from the fat in the hot dogs. So you'll see, like in New York City, people will talk about the, New York City street hot dogs being cooked in dirty water. That's not literally true. We just say that as a figure of speech because, like I said, you have that little fatty film that pops up in the water. So no, the hot dogs are not cooked in dirty water as some type of secret recipe. So the red onions and the sauerkraut are also done, like I said, and now you're ready to go. You simply, put the hot dogs on buns, put your sauerkraut, your red onions on top of the hot dogs, you put your ketchup and mustard on there, or you could not use sauerkraut and red onions, but that's the traditional way it's done. Some people just like sauerkraut on the hot dog. Some people just like red onions on it. Some people just like ketchup on it or mustard or whatever, but that's the finished product there. Like I said, the best hot dogs in the world. New York City street hot dogs. Enjoy.